So before you 10 fantastic games for PS5, which you, perhaps little heard, but which absolutely deserve your attention in 2024 year, be that epic ecstasy RPG, strive platformer or deep story, this list finds something for each, so sign up, and we're off to a great start. Black Myth: Wukong. This game has been turning heads ever since it was first announced, and for good reason. Black Myth: Wukong is an action RPG inspired by the classic Chinese novel, Journey to the West. You play as the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, a character with a rich mythology and a whole lot of cool abilities. The game is being developed by Chinese indie studio Game Science, and it's already looking like one of the most visually stunning games of the year. The first thing you'll notice about Black Myth: Wukong is its graphics. The game looks absolutely gorgeous, with incredibly detailed character models, fluid animations, and environments that are rich with color and texture. The developers have used Unreal Engine 5, which means you're getting next-gen visuals that take full advantage of the PS5's hardware. From misty forests and ancient temples to snowy mountain peaks, every area looks meticulously crafted, creating a world that feels both magical and alive. But it's not just about the visuals. The gameplay is equally impressive. Black Myth: Wukong combines fast-paced combat with deep RPG mechanics. You'll be using a combination of martial arts, magic, and transformations to take down enemies, including some massive epic bosses that look like they came straight out of a mythical epic. The combat is fluid and dynamic, with a focus on dodging, parrying, and counter-attacking, much like the Dark Souls or Sekiro games, but with its own unique twists. One of the coolest aspects of Wukong is the protagonist's ability to transform into different creatures. This isn't just a gimmick. Each transformation has its own unique abilities and can be used in both combat and exploration. Imagine turning into a tiny insect to sneak past enemies, or transforming into a massive beast to take them down. The game promises a variety of ways to approach situations, giving you a lot of freedom in how you play. The story is rooted in Chinese mythology, which is a breath of fresh air in a genre that often sticks to more familiar fantasy tropes. You'll be encountering all sorts of gods, demons, and mystical creatures, each with their own backstory and lore. If you're looking for a game that offers both jaw-dropping visuals and deep, rewarding gameplay, Black Myth: Wukong is definitely one to keep an eye on in 2024. Deathloop often favors style over substance, but there's a reason we gave it our GOTY award in 2021. It's an absolute hoot to play. This first-person shooter is set on a mysterious island stuck in a time loop and challenges you to unravel a murder puzzle in order to break the cycle. You do this by eliminating 7 high-profile targets in a single day. But plotting the ideal assassination plan requires carefully piecing together clues and striking whenever an opportunity presents itself. The game oozes style thanks to its 60s Cold War aesthetic, and its seriously likable 2 main characters will keep you engaged through multiple loops. The duo regularly trade off witty banter, and there's a generally enjoyable comedic streak running through all of Deathloop. The upgrade system is a little too generous, but thanks to its roguelike elements, death has genuine consequences, forcing you to play smart at all times. And with objectives that can be tackled in a variety of ways, Deathloop is a shooter that will make you think before pulling the trigger. Astro's Playroom is a delightfully charming 3D platformer that serves as both a showcase of the PS5's next-gen capabilities, as well as a loving tribute to the history of the PlayStation brand, and it's totally free. If you didn't know, Astro's Playroom comes pre-installed on every single PS5 console, and while you might be tempted to skip this freebie, you absolutely should play this nifty little game first because it's so much more than a throwaway pack-in. Each of the game's 4 levels is a whirlwind of pleasant platforming and enjoyable puzzle solving, and the vibrant graphics bring the lovable character of Astrobot and the playful world they inhabit to life. Plus, the innovative features of the DualSense controller are used to great effect to simulate everything from the feeling of walking across a sandy beach to resistance when pulling back a bowstring. It's a short experience overall, but hunting for collectibles and PlayStation-themed Easter eggs encourages repeat playthroughs. Horizon Forbidden West doesn't significantly depart from the formula set by its predecessor, Horizon Zero Dawn, but that's not a bad thing as its PS4 forefather was already a highly compelling open-world action-adventure. And the few tweaks that Forbidden West does make are entirely for the better, building upon what worked and refining various gameplay systems. This sequel sees franchise protagonist Aloy venture to new lands in her quest to discover truths about the old world, and also to prevent the rapid degrading of the planet's biosphere. Once you arrive in the Forbidden West, you'll discover new herds of animalistic robots to battle in surprisingly tactical combat that puts the focus on picking your shots, rather than just unloading arrows into your enemies. There are also dozens of side activities and distractions to discover. Not to mention, the game looks absolutely stunning on PS5. You'll likely lose countless hours just drinking in the breathtaking scenery and vistas. Back in 2021, we labeled Ratchet Clank Rift Apart the game the PS5 was born to play, and even 2 years later, it continues to stand as an excellent showcase of the PS5's capabilities. That's primarily because of its rapid load times and strong use of the DualSense controller's haptic feedback, but also because it basically looks like a playable Pixar movie with colourful, cartoonish graphics and wonderfully expressive character animations. Rift Apart plays very similar to every other mainline Ratchet & Clank game, but that actually works in the game's favour as the franchise's established formula is so strong. This latest adventure for the spunky Lombax and his robot companion once again sees the pair travel to distant planets, encounter new friends and enemies, and collect a shiny new arsenal of creative weaponry. What Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart lacks in new ideas, it makes up for with a great abundance of fun. Star Wars Jedi. Survivor is a textbook example of a sequel that improves and expands upon practically every element of its predecessor. Star Wars Jedi. Fallen Order established solid foundations, and the development team at Respawn Entertainment has deftly refined that formula and in turn crafted arguably the best Star Wars game of the last 2 decades. Combining third-person action combat and Metroidvania-level design with a small sprinkling of elements from the Dark Souls series, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a cinematic adventure that encourages considered play and thorough exploration. It's also got an engaging main story filled with likable characters and complex, even occasionally sympathetic villains. Its technical performance on PS5 is a little disappointing, but if these issues can be remedied via post-launch patches, Star Wars Jedi Survivor will be practically perfect. Another remake of a PS3 classic, Demon's Souls is the precursor to Dark Souls and is a must-play for anybody who enjoys From Software's iconic brand of tough-as-nails action RPGs. Rebuilt by Bluepoint Games, the original spirit of Demon's Souls has been retained, but the whole experience has been upgraded with a breathtaking level of graphic polish and a rock-solid frame rate. If you're familiar with other From Software games such as Elden Ring, you'll know the score here. Demon's Souls drops you into the dark fantasy world of Boletaria, where just about everything has the capability to kill you in just a couple of hits. And while it might seem overwhelmingly difficult at first, take the time to learn the game's various systems and you'll be rewarded with one of the most satisfying gaming experiences on PS5. However, players stepping into Demon's Souls who have already enjoyed later Souls games should be wary. Some of the original's more dated elements are still present, and these often alienating aspects make Demon's Souls arguably the most esoteric game in the franchise. Hogwarts Legacy is the first non-mobile game set in the wizarding world of Harry Potter for more than a decade, and it turned out to be well worth the wait. Set more than a century before the boy who lived walked the corridors of the iconic magical school, Hogwarts Legacy lets you create your own witch or wizard, get sorted onto a Hogwarts house, and then embark on a grand adventure that involves dragons, goblins, and dark wizards. While the game's main narrative will appeal to fans of the Harry Potter novels, and the spellcasting combat is surprisingly engaging, Hogwarts itself is the real star of the show. The famous castle has been digitally recreated in remarkable detail, and its halls and classrooms are stuffed with secrets to uncover. And if that wasn't enough, there's also a larger world to explore. that includes the quaint village of Hogsmeade and several small hamlets inhabited by all sorts of magical folk. Stray has a pretty simple USP: you get to play as a cat. Naturally, this unique selling point has earned the game plenty of interest as players have delighted in the idea of taking control of an adorable kitty on a quest to find its way home. But don't dismiss Stray as just a cat simulator. This adventure game has plenty more to offer than just pawing at scratching posts. Its remarkably detailed cyberpunk world is a real joy to explore, and there are tons of secrets to discover and worthwhile collectibles to unearth within its rainy streets and grubby alleyways. Not to mention, the entire game is absolutely stunning on PS5, currently serving as one of the best showcases of the console's graphical powers to date. The unique perspective granted by playing as a furry feline is another highlight, and the story builds to a strangely emotional finale. The core gameplay mechanics may be pretty simplistic, but overall, Stray is a unique experience well worth your time, even if you're more of a dog person. In the continued absence of a Bloodborne sequel or remaster, Lies of P is an action RPG that is looking to fill the void. This Souls-like is heavily inspired by the works of From Software and is loosely based on The Adventures of Pinocchio, but you won't find any singing crickets in this dark fantasy take on the beloved novel. Instead, you'll explore the Gothic city of Krat and face its many nightmarish inhabitants. Much like its clear inspirations, Lies of P is a very challenging game, and some of its fearsome bosses may test the limits of your gaming abilities. However, overcoming the game's numerous difficult obstacles provides a deep sense of satisfaction. Plus, the visual design is excellent throughout, and the weapon customization system allows you to craft a character that is finely tuned to your preferred playstyle. We may never get a Bloodborne 2, but Lies of P is pretty much the next best thing.